Good morning, everyone. How is everyone this morning? Um, it's been a little bit of a rough week, I would think, for all of us. A little bit pretty sad as we lost Elaine this week. So I wanted to take a little bit of time to talk to you about Elaine before we start, just to kind of let you know uh, how I knew her and how important she was to me, and I know how important she was to you guys as well. So I met Elaine, I guess it's been a little over 25 years. I was about 12 years old when Eddie and her first came to church. And before church, before that, I was just, I hate to say it, but it was kind of boring sometimes. Um, but Eddie really livened it up, and Elaine did too. And they really tried to get to know not just the adults, but the kids, which was really cool to include us in things. So, anyway, Eddie baptized me not too long after he started coming because I just felt the Lord working in my heart, like we talk about when you feel Him and your heart working on you. And so we were baptized. And throughout the years, we got really close. Eddie and Elaine came to my Christmases at my house, and Easters, and my birthday parties, my kids' birthday parties, and they even helped me move into my dorm when I went away to college. And we have some funny stories about that too. So I just try to remember, even though I'm sad, that we should think of all the fun and the good things. She was fun to talk to. She really loved you guys. We would, during all this, when I couldn't see her at church because we haven't been at church because of what I always say, because of COVID, I would call her on the phone probably weekly and just talk to her about how I miss you guys. And she helped me decide things about Vacation Bible School when it was tough. So I'm going to miss her, but I'm also going to try to remember the good things and the things she taught me. And one of those things I wanted to talk to you about is she taught me how to speak my feelings and kindness and be very kind. So when I say speak my feelings, I mean when we compliment each other. I tell you what, that woman could make me feel good in 2 seconds. She would make me feel like I was the best person in the world, even when I knew better. But she thought that, and that was great. So never be afraid to tell your friends how you feel, that you love them, the fun things about them, compliment them when they do a good job, and build them up when they're having a tough time. So I wanted to take this time to honor her and to think of all the good things and the things that she taught me. What I encourage you to do is you can make some comments as this go down of things you might remember of Elaine and how she was special to you, because she loved you guys very much and talked about you quite frequently. So with that, today our Bible story is really long, which always cracks me up because every time I see this, I think of back when I was in Sunday school, and my mom was my Sunday school teacher, and so was Miss Clegg. And when I was in there, and if they would say it was more than 23 verses, I would be like, oh, great, here we go. We get to read all this. But fortunately, it's going to be, we'll read it and we'll talk about it because it's a long story of how the Israelites came to be with Joshua. So we started that last week about how Joshua was chosen by God to lead the Israelites into the promised land. So we're going to learn a little bit more about that today. So we're going to start off with Joshua chapter 3, verses 1 through 17. And this is when he's crossing the Jordan River. Early in the morning, Joshua and all the Israelites set out and went to the Jordan River, where they camped before crossing over. After 3 days, the officers went through the camp, giving orders to the people. When you see the ark of the covenant of the Lord your God and the Levitical priests carrying it, you are to move out from your positions and follow it. Then you will know which way to go, since you have never been this way before. But keep a distance of about 2,000 cubits between you and the ark. Do not go near it. Joshua told the people to get ready, for tomorrow the Lord will do amazing things among you. Joshua said to the priests, "Take up the ark of the covenant and pass on ahead of the people." So they took it up and went ahead of them. And the Lord said to Joshua, "Today I will begin to exalt you in the eyes of the Israel, so that you may know that I am with you as I was with Moses. Tell the priests who carry the ark of the covenant, when you reach the edge of the Jordan's waters, go and stand in the river." Joshua said to the Israelites, "Come here and listen to the words of the Lord your God. This is how you will know that the living God is among you, and that he will certainly drive out before you the Canaanites, Hittites, Hivites, I'm going to mess this one up, Perizzites, and see, the ark of the covenant of the Lord of the earth will go into the Jordan ahead of you. Now then, choose 12 men from the tribes of Israel, one from each tribe. And as soon as the priests who carry the ark of the Lord of all the earth, set foot in the Jordan, its waters following downstream will be cut off and stand up in a heap." So when the people broke camp to cross the Jordan, the priests carrying the ark of the covenant went ahead of them. Now the Jordan is at flood stage all during harvest. Yet as soon as the priests who carried the ark reached the Jordan and their feet touched the water's edge, the water from upstream stopped flowing. It piled up in a heap a great distance away, at a town called Adam in the vicinity of Zaharnath. While the water flowing down to the sea of the Arab, that is the Dead Sea, so as the water was cut off completely, the people crossed over opposite Jericho. The priests who carried the ark of the covenant of the Lord stopped in the middle of the Jordan and stood on the dry ground, while all Israel passed by until the whole nation had completed the crossing on dry ground. So we'll take a pause right there. So God gave Joshua instructions, and then Joshua instructed his people about what God had wanted and how to keep them safe. And so right now, just imagine, I don't know if you've ever seen the Mississippi, but it's a really big river. And just imagine if it was at flood stage, okay? It's even higher than what it's supposed to be. And he wanted them to cross it. And that would be very scary. But he let them know that he would protect them, and he told them how he would do it. So when they followed his instructions, he stopped the water from flowing to allow them to cross the river. So that's very important to note, that God kept his people safe and the people followed God's instructions. So the other part we're going to read is from Joshua chapter 4, verses 1 through 24. So now they are crossing the river. When the whole nation had finished crossing the Jordan, the Lord said to Joshua, "Choose 12 men from among the people, one from each tribe, and tell them to take up 12 stones from the middle of the Jordan, from right where the priests are standing, and carry them over with you, and put them down at a place where you stay tonight." So Joshua called together the 12 men he had appointed from the Israelites, one from each tribe, and said to them, "Go over before the ark of the Lord your God into the middle of the Jordan. Each of you is to take up a stone on his shoulder according to the number of the tribes of the Israelites, to serve as a sign among you. In the future, when your children ask you, 'What do these stones mean?' tell them that the flow of the Jordan was cut off before the ark of the covenant of the Lord. When it crossed the Jordan, the waters of the Jordan were cut off. These stones are to be a memorial to the people of Israel forever." So the Israelites did as Joshua commanded them. They took 12 stones from the middle of the Jordan according to the number of tribes of the Israelites, as the Lord had told Joshua, and they carried them over with them to their camp, where they put them down. Joshua set up the 12 stones that had been in the middle of the Jordan at the spot where the priests who carried the Ark of the Covenant had stood, and they were there to this day. And they are there to this day. Now the priests who carried the ark remained standing in the middle of the Jordan until everything the Lord had commanded Joshua was done by the people, just as Moses to Joshua. The people heard over, and as soon as all of them had crossed, the ark of the Lord and the priests came to the other side while the people watched. The men of Reuben, Gad, and the half-tribe of Manasseh crossed over, ready for battle in front of the Israelites, as Moses had directed them. About 40,000 armed for battle crossed over before the Lord to the plans of Jericho for war. That day the Lord exalted Joshua in the sight of all Israel, and they stood in awe of him all the days of his life, just as they had stood in awe of Moses. Then the Lord said to Joshua, command the priests carrying the ark of the covenant law to come out of the Jordan. So Joshua commanded the priests, come out of the Jordan. And the priests came out of the river carrying the ark of the covenant of the Lord. No sooner had they set their feet out dry on the ground than the waters of the Jordan returned to their place and ran at flood stage as before. On the 10th day of the first month, the people went up from the Jordan and camped in Gilgal on the eastern border of Jericho. And Joshua set up the 12 stones that they'd taken out of the Jordan. He said to the Israelites, in the future, when your descendants ask their parents, what do these stones mean? Tell them, Israel crossed the Jordan on dry ground. For the Lord your God dried up the Jordan before you until you had crossed over. The Lord your God did to the Jordan what he had done to the Red Sea, when he dried it up before us until we had crossed over. He did this so that all the people of the earth might know that the hand of the Lord is powerful, and so that you might always fear the Lord your God. So, what I want to talk about here is there's a lot of different parts in this. But we know that Joshua, in order to go to the promised land, he had to cross the Dead Sea, So he had to cross the Jordan. And he had to cross the Jordan River. It was at flood stage, and it looked impossible. God gave him direction and specific direction of how to do this. So he told him to get 12 priests to take 12 stones. He told the 12 priests and the Ark of the Covenant to keep a distance from the people. And in doing so and following all these instructions, God kept his people safe. And so they were able to cross the river and get ready to go into the promised land. So it's very important to note that they listened to what God instructed. And Joshua did, and so did his people. The people trusted Joshua. When they did that, after they got those stones, God instructed them to make a memorial out of it. And a memorial is something that represents to remember people by. There's all kinds of different memorials and monuments around the world to this date. So their memorial was these 12 stones so that they can remember how Joshua helped lead his people over to the promised land, and they could tell their children about this. So I want you guys to think about some memorials that you might know of, some landmarks. I have some here written down that we can go over, and what these do is help us remember what happened, so that we always remember our history, and that's how the Bible works too, so that we can know and get to know God. So here are some of the monuments around the world. Sculptures, not just monuments, different things. So we have the Eiffel Tower. If you guys know where that's at, that's in Paris, France. That's a big monument that people think of. It was built to celebrate the 100th anniversary of the French Revolution. So it's to memorialize the French Revolution, which was a war. The tower is found in France, and it is 1,063 feet tall, and there are 108 stories. There are 1,710 steps to climb. 2 elevators are in the Eiffel Tower, and it has millions of visitors. I've never seen it, but I know that my husband's seen it, and that would be really neat to see is that. But know that when you see the Eiffel Tower now, it is to remember the French Revolution. The Great Wall of China is one of the 7 wonders of the world. It's over 13,171 miles long, and it was built in 1644. It took over 2,000 years to build, actually. It was a very popular place. It's a very popular place for people to visit. And there's a theory that you can actually see the wall from the moon. That would be fun to see. The Great Pyramid of Giza is a very old pyramid. It is about 4,500 years old, and it's one of the largest monuments ever built. It's near Cairo, the capital of Egypt, and it was built by hand, which is just crazy, under the rule of the Pharaoh. So those are some monuments to remember. There are many different monuments. There's we have monuments in the United States that we know of, and so I want you to think about those things. Just as when you see those, you can think of the 12 stones that they have, their monument Joshua had for the 12 different tribes, to remember that God protected them crossing the Jordan. So those are just some ideas of what some monuments are. We've made some monuments for when our chicken passed away. We actually painted rocks, and you guys can always, it doesn't have to be when someone passes away, but you can think of some things, some memories of your parents that you have, and you can even make or draw things to represent that so that you can keep those memories. So what I want you to take away from today is that we listen to the Lord, we follow his instructions, even when they might seem scary or silly, because sometimes we might not understand why God does what he does, but know that he has our best interest at heart. Nothing's by accident, it's by his plan, and we have to trust in him. The other thing I want us to remember is think about all the good memories you have and all the monuments that you may see or you could even create, just like the people, the Israelites did, to remember how God protected them. They made monuments. So don't forget to memorialize either in people and events and things like that, because it's good to keep for traditions. It's good to remember people by that are special in our lives. So what I want to do is say a prayer, and as especially this week starts up, we are getting ready to, some of us aren't going to school, but I'm going to school, and so are my kids. We start this week in faith, so I want us to think about praying for us for safety, for the teachers, for the kids, and say prayers for the kids that are starting virtual as well. So let's go ahead and say this prayer together. Dear God, we give thanks for Elaine and for others who are important people to us. Please give us strength to follow her example in others and to be faithful leaders in your name. Amen. All right, you guys have a good week, and I can't wait to see you next. Well, not see you, but talk to you next week. Take care.